Welcome to Daily Grace. Thanks for joining us. This is the podcast where we lay hold of the daily grace, the fresh grace that God reaches out to us. So we are glad. Now, sometimes on this podcast, we tackle topics that Christians are thinking about or talking about. And we did that last week with critical theory and before then with the biblical worldview. But a lot of times we interview friends where we see God's daily grace at work. And so today we have Justin Tillman with us from Grace. Thank you, Justin, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We are glad you're here. You're kind of like Grace's international man of mystery. When I stop to think about, every time you're on the worship team, you're playing a different instrument. You're house church leader, and you and Ellen have this great story of adopting little John William, and then you're finishing a PhD. Did you know that? We'll get into it. You're finishing a PhD, and you're leading one of the biggest departments at LCC. And on top of all that, you know more about beard oil than anyone else in Lenore County.
Probably so.
How did that happen?
Well, when you start losing hair on top, you grow it where you can, and so.
Now, do you claim this as a dependent on your taxes?
I need to. Yeah. I'm glad that the Lord provided me with a thick beard instead of, if He was going to take my hair, at least He gave me something. So you have to nourish what you have.
That's true. Nourish what you have. Well, that's great. All right. So, how long have you been at Grace?
So I've been at Grace probably about 2009.
2009.
Yeah.
So you're making me do the math. Okay.
Shortly after coming home from college, ended up at Grace. So probably coming on 10 years.
Yep. Just past 10 years. What brought you here and what kept you here?
So I had a little bit of a background with Grace. When I was little, my mom and I and my sister came to Grace for a little bit when they were at Northwest.
Oh.
And then we ended up moving to Virginia. And when we came back, we went to another church. And so I had and then with being a youth group at Queen Street, interacted with Grace some during that time. And so when I got home from college, was really looking for a place to call a church home. And remembered Grace and New Kent, and I like contemporary music and wanted to find a place to plug in and play and serve in that way. And it just so happened that I was able to do that here.
That's fantastic. Then the plot thickens because then you introduced Ellen to Lenore County, and it's never been the same.
It's never been the same, and we joke all the time that nobody knew who I was until Ellen came along. So.
She is just amazing.
Yeah, I was a wallflower until she came along. So.
And that's not true either, but we love Ellen. We love Ellen. What does she do in the community?
So she actually has a new job. She is serving as the lead AIG teacher for K through 5 in Greene County.
In Greene County?
Mm-hmm. So she was third grade teacher, been third grade teacher for about 7 years. And this is really her dream job, so we're really excited. She's been eyeing this job for a long time, and during COVID, it got an interview for it and ended up getting it. So
wow! And then what do you do in the community?
So I serve as the Dean of Public Safety and Emergency Management. So I oversee the EMS programs, law enforcement, firefighting. Oversee the emergency management programs. Do gunsmithing. Oversee the gunsmithing program and the nurse aid, phlebotomy tech, EKG tech, health-related programs. So I oversee all of that stuff. How
many students are there total in all these programs, online and remote?
Online
and together, like
several hundred.
Wow, hundreds of them. Mm-hmm. Wow, and it's one of LCC's larger branches.
Yes, so the EMS program is actually arguably the largest EMS program in the state, and probably the largest program of its kind in the country.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's well respected, which is why it's so large.
Yes. So we have students come from as far away as California to take our paramedic program.
Fantastic.
And always perform very high on our state pass rates and stuff for credentialing exams. And have had, it's been neat to see agencies in other states say, hey, look, we want to send all of our folks to you as our training academy. So there are a lot of agencies across the country that we are their EMS training academy for their new hires.
Right here in Lenore County. Justin, how long have you been leading that program?
I have been there since 2014, so 7 years, roughly.
Yeah, 6-7 years. So you are. That's a lot because of your good leadership, even though you might not say that.
I got a good team. I got a good team under me. A really good team that leaders only as good as the people that do the grunt work. So I've been blessed with a very good team, and we've really congealed since I came on board in 2014, and have really done a lot of growth. So
I think it's exciting because we don't know, we just don't know what's happening on the campus at LCC, and to turn around and hear that actually the EMS program and some of these things are some of the largest, some of the well-respected ones, and that other programs are coming here to learn how to do it. I mean, once again, we discover that Lenoir County is like a diamond in the rough, and we see things going on here that lead and bless others, and I think that's great.
We were ranked #1 online paramedic program in the country this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you been tased?
I have not, and don't
You
intend
haven't?
to.
Okay, so we've got to do that this week.
Don't intend to if I can help it.
Your leadership only goes so far. Okay.
That's right.
Now, before shifting to talk a little bit about John William, you have a day job, which is running this huge program that everyone wants to come to from across the world, and then also you teach Bible interpretation and you teach some theology courses at a place from Fayetteville. Tell us just a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I teach, do some adjunct teaching at Carolina College of Biblical Studies in Fayetteville, and do a lot of their. So it's a big online program, but then they've got a physical campus in Fayetteville, and so what I've taught in the past, a lot of times I'll do their entry level kind of college study skills class to get people acclimated to the online environment, and also teach. They've got a flagship class, which is how to study the Bible, that they really offer pretty much for free.
You taught me how to teach that, and together we did that.
So that's their flagship class. You pretty much get it for free to test the waters. So I teach that, and then the college level version, hermeneutics, teach that course as well. And I've taught a couple doctrine classes there and a couple theology classes. So just whatever they need, and if I'm available to do it, jump in and do it.
I love it. I love it. Cable is expensive, but you wouldn't be doing all these things if you had cable.
That's right.
You would just be sitting there binge watching whatever.
That's why having a digital antenna is good.
You don't get as much stuff on the TV.
Right.
All right, let's talk John William, because the Lord has blessed you with this little life. Kind of around Christmas, there was a call out of the blue. Out of the blue. Tell us the story.
Yes. So Ellen and I started the adoption process probably last January, and if you've never done that, it's a strenuous process.
It is.
No stone left unturned, which is good. You want to know that kids are going to good families.
It's kind of like hiring a youth pastor. No stone left
That's
unturned.
right. Yeah, if you're doing your job right. So we became a waiting family. Around August, September timeframe, and the average wait was like 7 months at a minimum. So we were expecting spring, sometime like that, and so we were doing our fundraising, getting all that stuff finished up, and we did what we call the Tillman Tour to Christmas, which is we're gone for 6 days. Yes, we make a big loop, and we're gone for 6 full days, and so we prayed, and Ellen prayed harder than I did. Lord, just let it. We've hit Christmas season. We know we could get a call any moment, but please just let us get through this Christmas season, because we're all over the place, and it would really throw a monkey wrench in a lot of things. If it's your will, we'll take a child at any point in time. But if we've got any clout, can we get through Christmas? And so we got home from Christmas on the 26th, and we always take a mountain trip after Christmas just to get away and relax. And so we had gotten our cabin booked for Hendersonville, which is where we typically go, and we were laying down watching TV. We were going to make a whole day, the 27th, just traveling up. We were gone through New Year's, and we were just going to mosey on up to Hendersonville. And we were watching TV, and I got a text message from the adoption director, and said, "Hey, if you got a moment, give me a call. No rush." And so I'm thinking it's a paperwork issue or something like that, because we'd always been told
no rush.
Yeah, we'd always been told you'll get a phone call. And so I was like, well, she's texting, so no big deal. And so Ellen and I, we literally said, well, let's finish watching our show. So I was like, I'll text her back when we're done. And so she was done. Ellen had to walk down the hall to do something. And so I texted her back, or I gave her a call. And she's like, well, how are you guys doing? We're like, we're doing well. She says, Ellen around? And I'm like, well, no, she's down the hall. And there was this pause. And I was like, what do I need to get Ellen? And she goes, would probably be a good idea to go get her. I got a situation I want to run by you guys. Well, we go to DEFCON level 5 at that point.
Yeah.
So I yelled for Ellen. She comes running back down the hall, and so they explained to us that there's this little boy who is his family is ready to place him, and told us a little bit of the story. And we're like, well, great. So what do you think in time frame? She goes, he's going to be ready next week.
Oh.
And we're like, is in 3 days next week? She goes, yeah, about 3. I was like, well, oh my goodness. So she's like, we kind of need to let the family know something, what you're thinking. And So not to rush you, but if you could kind of. So I was
But
like,
move along.
yeah, I was like, well, let us talk about it real quickly. So we hung up the phone, called everybody we could think to call. I think we called y'all. Y'all were in Canada. Called my parents. We're talking. Everybody's crying. We're trying to think through crying, and just it's tough because I don't mean to sound shallow, but it's like this is not like a Sam's Club deal that you just wait and see if another deal comes along.
Yeah.
So we called and talked to him and said, we don't know that this is right for us, but we're willing to meet with the family and see. And there was no commitment at that point. It was totally getting to know each other. And so we were up front with her. We had this trip planned to Hendersonville. We will cancel it right now. She goes, oh, no, you need to take it. And she's like, but you're going through Charlotte. So just, because that's where their main office was.
Yeah.
She said, you're going through Charlotte, so just pack the diaper bag in the car seat. On your way back through, you'll stop in Charlotte. I'm like, you make it sound so easy. So we start scrambling. What goes in a diaper bag? We've got all the stuff, but I'm like, well, what do you put in there? And so it was that whole morning. We ended up getting to Hendersonville, I think, like 11 o'clock that night. Wow. That whole day was spent, and then we tried our best.
That diaper bag must have been huge.
Yes, figuring out how to get a car seat in. What does it look like to be level and all that stuff, and tried our best to enjoy our 2-3 days in Hendersonville. But
no, your mind is somewhere
else. It was a very stressful.
Did you have more peace as you went along in Hendersonville, or were you still like
100% upset? The nervous, it just increased. The nervousness increased. And then that drive from Hendersonville to Charlotte, or Matthews, technically, that Monday was, I don't think we talked the whole ride. Because it's just like, what do you say? How do you process it? And we're both nervous. The family's nervous. His birth family was nervous. And so when we got there, that was when we sat down and met their family, or met his birth family. That was the first thing the adoption director said. She was there with us. She goes, well, let's go ahead and clear the air. Everybody's terrified right now.
Yeah, there you go.
And we were like, yes, we are. Yeah. And we ended up talking to them for a good 3-4 hours.
Really?
Yeah, it was. You could.
Wow.
The anxiety level diminished almost immediately once we started talking to each other, and realizing that. They talk about in the adoption process that every adoption is just perfectly knit together. And you hear that and you're like, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. But his story is just, our story, his family story, his birth family story is just all...
it's unbelievable.
You couldn't write it. And so when we started to realize his birth family had a lot of the same background and experiences that we had growing up, It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And so then we met him later that night because it was just, they wanted to get to know us first. So he wasn't there.
He wasn't in the room.
Yeah, and so we met him later that night. And then we joke. It was like, once they handed him to us, it was like, all right, well, we'll see you guys later. And I told Ellen, I said, they literally just handed us a living human being. Like, what do we do? And so we put him in the car and made the 4-hour drive back to Kinston. Stopped at a rest stop, and I kept telling her, I said, is he breathing? She sat in the back. I was like, is he breathing? Is he breathing? Because I was like, I don't know if I've hooked him up in this thing right.
Yeah.
And stopped at a rest stop.
I felt like that coming home from the hospital.
Well, good.
Why are they letting us take this thing?
Yeah, so we stopped at a rest stop, and that was the first. She's like, I've got to go to the restroom, so she went to the rest stop. I was like, well, I think you're supposed to change his diaper. So I was like, well, let's do that. And so I got him out of the car seat.
End?
Yeah, got him out of the car seat and started changing his diaper, and he went nuts. He'd been perfect this whole time. He went nuts. So Ellen comes out, the door, she said the doors opened up at the rest stop, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and all she can hear is this baby screaming across the parking lot. And I'm like, well, there's no other baby in the parking lot. So she's running up, she goes, what happened? I was like, I didn't do anything. I just took his diaper off. I said, I can't find the volume switch. I can't find the off button. But we made it through, and we got back home.
It was probably chilly.
It could have been.
And when you took off all those clothes, it got a little chilly.
Yeah, and so we got home, and that first couple days was intense. Thankfully, our family just swarmed around us and helped us get everything set up. I think moms had to stay for a couple nights to help us figure out what was going on. But
that's normal.
Yeah, but that's the story of how he came to be in our life, and it was a whirlwind.
Well, it was a whirlwind, and it was just another evidence of both the goodness and the sovereignty of God that he knit together John William exactly for you. Unbelievable.
So John William is the name his birth family gave him, and it was my dad's name is John. He goes by Gary, but his first name is John. So John is a family name.
There it is.
And so it was just neat how all that stuff worked. And it turns out William is a family name on Ellen's side. And so his two names, while they're from his birth family, fit into
Yep.
his adoptive family. So
Because God was ordaining it. He was just bringing it to pass.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that
Yeah.
part of your story with us. I mean, I know your house church has walked a lot of
Yes.
that with you. And,
Yeah.
and boy, if that doesn't make something just a family, when you walk through a trial or an uncertainty or a story like this, just as a house church, I mean, that's just,
yeah, that was all a godsend for sure. We saw his hand every step of the way. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to see it in it, but hindsight is definitely 20/20 when it comes to the things you can look back and see. I can see exactly what God was doing.
yeah. Yep, no doubt.
So.
No doubt. Well, let me, I mean, just for fun, because that is really exciting, and really now. But what's really fun is to think, John William is entering into your family, your life, you and Ellen, and he's going to get to watch his dad do a whole bunch of things that he has no idea about. But like one of the things you are really known for, and not in a bad way, but and good at, is just music. Like how many instruments do you play?
4.
4.
Yeah.
Like the kazoo and the comb. And
Yes.
the,
Yeah. So guitar, mandolin, the bass guitar, and the piano.
So 3 on the strings, but or with. I mean, I know bass
Yeah,
isn't technically
similar
string; it's percussion.
similar format.
But yeah, so and is that hard to go from guitar to mandolin?
It wasn't that hard for me. I mean, fretted instruments are kind of the same theory behind it.
Okay.
And so they might be strung a little differently, but the concepts are the same. So it wasn't that big of a switch.
And what is it about music that draws you?
I don't know. I come from a musical family. My granddad was big into music. My grandmother was big into music. My dad jokes that it skipped his generation. But there's just something about being able to express yourself in music. I think that's a gift of God. Just music in general. The ability to play it, sure, but just the gift of music to us. And people have seen this before. Sometimes a song just says what you're thinking in a way that you can't verbalize.
Yep.
And so just the spiritual level of music, and all types of music, but just it can make you happy. When you're sad, it can make you feel better. It just, if you are sad, music has a way of vindicating your feelings in a sense. It's
true.
a neat, just the way it touches people.
And even not only the lyrics, but also the music
Yeah,
itself. The
classical
melody and
music. You can just
like
be listening to classical music, and jazz. It'll do something. It'll lift you up. It can make you cry. There's no words at all. It's just the melody.
Sometimes Paul Simon as well.
That's true.
A little bit of that. So you were part of the 13th Disciples,
Yes.
which was a youth rock band.
Yeah,
Did they say that anymore?
Kinston's premier Christian contemporary worship band.
There you go. Yeah, and that was like kind of high school.
Yes, yeah,
And
high school,
Queen
a little bit of
Street,
college. Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit of college. And then you do a lot, so we know you because you play here a little bit on Sunday morning with the kazoo or whatever that is, the mandolin and the guitar and the voice. But you also do some folk performing at different places. Different times.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't the era of your life you're doing that. But
yeah. I've done a little bit of that. Playing weirdly libraries. They'll do folk stuff, but I'm playing with some folk groups down. Like Little Washington has a folk group that gets together on Saturdays. Playing down there, nursing homes, things like that. They always want folks to come in and play a little bit.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten a festival underneath my belt yet. I'm holding on for that one day.
Yeah. Oh, come on now. We can do it.
Yeah. But so just kind of where I get an opportunity, if I've got time, it's fun to play for people.
Yeah. And I remember like when Joe Jackson was here with the dulcimer,
Yes.
the hammer dulcimer,
Yeah.
and then some fiddlers and stuff, and just what amazing.
Yeah, so she and I would get to play a couple of places together, which has been fun.
And performing versus leading worship. What's the difference?
Yeah, there's a big difference.
We know there is, but tell us.
So I think for me, it's the intent behind it. When you're performing for people, you're the focus to an extent. You're trying to evoke an emotion in people. But for performance, you're the focus of the group that's there. For worship, you're evoking a response in people that you're intending to do that, but you're not the focus of it. And to me, if worship is done well, you want people to leave not really remembering who you are.
Yeah.
Performance is different. You want people to leave remembering, hey, that was a good show, that was a good group, I want to come see them again. For worship, you want people leaving remembering the gospel and the story that is and what that means for their life. And if they remember your group, that's great. And if you mean something to them, like, I want to continue listening to that group, that's wonderful. But that's not the focus. And so that to me, that's the difference between worship and performing.
And I think that's what Kent, how he leads
Absolutely.
our worship teams and our worship as a body here so well.
Yeah.
Is that he tries to get out of the way, and that's the ethos on the whole platform.
Yeah,
Is
and Kent was helpful for me in that too, just in coming along the worship team here at Grace. Really, I had been wrestling with that myself, leading worship at Campbell in college, and then with 13th. And so I had some good examples in how to do that. But then to see Kent do that for a full congregation, Grace was my first opportunity playing on a worship team consistently for a single congregation. And so to see that played out day in and day out, he does it. I would second that. He's great at that difference between performance and worship.
it is great in Kent, and of course he's not here right now, so we can talk
We
about
can talk
him all
about
we
him,
want.
yeah.
But what I love is the humility, the excellence, the musical sensitivity and spiritual sensitivity, and the way he can lead all of you guys and all of us into it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think Grace has just, the Lord has been gracious.
Sure, absolutely.
To have Kent and Mary here all this time. Okay, let's go to the last thing I want to talk to you about is, I said it before, I mentioned it before, you may not know this, but Justin is finishing up a PhD.
Yeah.
It's D at the end,
D,
right?
yes.
D, PhD,
For
Doctor
done.
of Philosophy.
Yes.
Piled high and deep.
Yes.
No, I shouldn't say that.
That is true.
Okay, a Doctor of Philosophy, a PhD in
Educational leadership.
educational leadership.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So it's the thrust of the degree is how to lead educational institutions.
Okay, so colleges or schools or how to lead them.
And not just pragmatically, but also from a worldview perspective, how to lead educational institutions holistically.
Because it's a PhD at Columbia International University
down in South Carolina.
Which is a strong Christian college and a great, historically missionary sending school.
Yes, yeah.
Really
It used to be known as Columbia Bible College before CIU. So.
CIU. In fact, our first pastor went there.
Okay.
Dean Woodward
Yeah.
went there years ago. PhD, when do you finish?
Lord willing, this fall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you've already written the dissertation?
I've written the first 3 chapters of the dissertation. I'm waiting on an email clearance to start the research. I've defended the proposal, got that part done, so my dissertation committee has given me the green light.
Great.
But the group I want to survey, I have to get the green light from them, and that's what I'm waiting on. So prayers for that.
Yeah, that's great.
And if I can get that done, get my data collected, I can finish up writing my last 2 chapters this fall and be done.
Fantastic.
Be finished. P-H-I-N-I-S-H-E-D.
P-H-I-N. Yeah, finish. And you and I have always talked about this, Justin, is don't we need to start a pastor's college or a ministry training school right here in K-Town?
Yes.
And with you with the PhD and with me with the great looks, I don't know how we could go wrong.
We're sold, man. We've got everything we need.
All we need is $1 million, so
Yeah.
you're out there.
If you feel the Lord laying that on your heart.
But seriously, and so exciting how the Lord's leading Grace into training up church planters.
Oh, absolutely.
And then putting in place, not that I'm saying, here's, God loves you and I have a wonderful plan for your life, but wouldn't it be so fun? And you all need to start praying about this. How would God let Lenoir County and Kinston bless the global church by sending out folks who've been trained here, not just at Grace, but in a broader way? It would be a lot of fun because you're homegrown.
I am.
This is your home.
I am from right here in Kinston.
And if we can start a school,
it'd be great. Education, the field of education it's a primary battleground for our culture, and I think too many times we shift towards education being more pragmatic, and we need to remember that education is also about building morals and character and worldview, and I think we've lost that part, and if we've not lost it, it's been co-opted for ungodly purposes at times, and so. Yeah. And this is our country.
And we meaning the country, not
yes,
Christians.
Yes, yeah. As a country, the Founding Fathers were big on our republic continues. It depends on an educated populace, and part of education is fostering that worldview and character development in students. And certainly there's room for pragmatic vocational things, absolutely, but we can't miss that piece of building up good, solid citizens who have good character. And at least an ethical worldview to operate from.
No doubt, no doubt. And that's preschool and K through 5 or 8 or 12, but
Yeah.
it's also at the college level or the post-college, the training level. And that's what's so exciting about thinking, well, Lord, what kind of college would you have?
Yeah.
Maybe Justin start here, and I'll just go out and raise the money for it. I'll
Hey,
go out and raise the money.
that's
for it.
important.
That is important.
No money, no mission.
It's fun. I love to get excited about a vision that someone has and to help others get on board. So I think we could have a great time. Justin, thank you. I know this is busy. You were out of the office last week, and so for you to kind of be back in the office and hitting the ground running, and then to take a little bit of time to drive over here and be on Daily Grace, we thank you. Thank you for being a part of this, and go ahead and share this with others if this was a blessing to you. Definitely, we do want to help hang on to the grace that God is holding out to us each day as we encourage each other. Again,